Hey MMA fans, Caged Minds.mp4 Frankel. Today we're recapping UFC on FX3. You know the 3 different levels of broadcasting that they have with the UFC, so we'll start off with the Facebook prelims. There were 2 of them. The first one was Jake the Hitman Het versus Sean the Punisher Pearson. We had predicted for Het to win with a unanimous decision, figuring that his striking was a little bit better with his boxing background and looking for his wrestling to take control in the grappling positions. Go to the actual action of the fight, and Pearson was able to control the first 2 rounds, pushing Het against the fence, working the body, and in striking, keeping at his own range, getting off first, having a 3-inch reach advantage. In the 3rd round, Het did turn up the pressure, was able to get takedowns, little too late, as Sean Pearson gets a unanimous decision victory. The next and last of the 2 Facebook prelims, Henry Martinez versus Bernardo Muggle. We predicted for Martinez to win with the 3rd round TKO. He was swinging hard but never landed that shot, but 3 rounds of all striking and his defensive wrestling working for him, Martinez was able to really stifle the takedown game of Muggle, never getting to that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu level, and Henry Martinez gets his first UFC win. Now we go on to the Fuel prelims. Started that off with Buddy Roberts versus Kyle Muggle. We had predicted for Roberts to win with a split decision, but we knew that Muggle also had great grappling skills, and the last time we underestimated a middleweight from Novanyao, it was Ronnie Marks, and we've seen the grappling skills of him. So we had this a split decision for Roberts. What happened was Roberts showed to be more athletic, more fluid with his movement and his striking, picking Muggle apart. Muggle throws hard, and if you got caught by a punch, it could be devastating, but he wasn't setting them up well. Roberts had the strength and the balance to keep the fight standing, defending all the takedowns, and Roberts gets a unanimous decision victory. Next up was Tim Means versus Justin Solace. We had predicted for a 3rd round TKO. Means having the reach advantage, the length advantage. I figured this would be a nasty one, though, because Solace seemed to have a lot of heart that this would be a long, fair ruling, but we had Means finishing in the 3rd round. It didn't live up to that. It lived up to the Jerry Springer-esque fight that Tim Means had promised me on our interview. Tim Means came out, put the leather right across the face of Solace, beating him and chasing him around the ring, beating him until Solace dove for a takedown. Means was able to get towards the back, knee into the back, and holding him there with rights and lefts raining down from above. The ref stops the fight with a 1st round TKO, and Tim, the Dirty Bird Means, about business and 2-0 now in the UFC. And go on to the next prelim. We got Dustin Pay versus Joe Profaci. We had picked Papazian, thought he would win with a TKO. That when Peg loses, he loses by the TKO. And I had actually said that even though Peg did have a lot of submission victories, I thought Papazian, even though he had a lot of submission losses, would be able to stay out of the grappling realm and keep this fight standing. Both men had said they were going to keep the fight standing, and they stood for a little bit. Peg got hit, grabs for a tie clinch, gets a trip, gets on top of Papazian, was able to take the back, sink in a rear naked choke, and right there, Dustin Pay gets his first UFC win, and now Papazian is 0-2. That one worked against my picking methods. That was a bad one on my part. Move on to the next prelim. We had Leonard Garcia versus Matt Grice. We had thought that Garcia would come out strong and would look good in the 1st and 2nd round, but thought he would gas out and the wrestling of Grice would overwhelm to win a decision, but I thought it'd be like a more 29-28, a real even performance. And Grice came in attacking with the wrestling, got the fight to the ground, and was dominant throughout 3 rounds of never brawling with Garcia, keeping it in the wrestling, keeping Garcia on his back, nullifying his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and Matt Grice, impressive 30-27 across the board in that victory. Next prelim we had Seth Baczynski versus Lance Benoist. This fight, all 3 rounds kind of went in the same way. Benoist started quickly, was aggressive, did some good things, but by the end of every round, Baczynski was able to get on top, use his strength, be the stronger, bigger man like we knew he would be, and start working his top game. Oh, in our prediction, we had predicted a rear naked choke win in the 3rd round. Didn't get that, though. It was the 3rd round, 3-round back-and-forth fight went to the judges. Could see it going either way. Like I said, the first half of the rounds, every round was dominated by Benoist. Baczynski, though, ended everyone solidly and impressively. We had 29-28 for Baczynski. 29-28 for Baczynski. So yes, Baczynski does win with the decision, but it's split. And the way it's split is because the other judge scores it 27-30 for Benoist. So this just proves how ridiculous judging is, and just how much you gotta love and appreciate a fight that's finished, because judging is so speculative anyway, the realm of the variance of what people see. And now moving on to the last of the prelims. We had Mike Pierce versus Carlos Eduardo Hoja, who was returning off of a 16-month layoff. Mike Pearson made some discouraging remarks about saying he wanted any Brazilian welterweight, that it would be an easy win. So there were some kind of high tensions for this fight. So what ends up happening is Mike Pierce does what Mike Pierce does. He gets the fight, pushes it against the cage, got takedowns, grinded, kept his man close, was pressuring, working the body, using little shots, and in takedowns, respecting, though, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu game of Hoja. Pierce did land some blows, was punching to the legs. It was not a devastating, but it was a workman-like performance that Mike Pierce delivers. And again, in another interesting way of being scored, this fight I had at 30-27 for Pierce. So did two other judges. But another judge thought that Hoja was active enough off of his back throwing shots and whatnot that he would get a 27-30 the way of Hoja, or 30-27, but the way of Hoja. So Mike Pierce with the most dominant split decision victory I've ever seen in a workman-like performance. And now we move on to the main card. Started that off, the FX portion of the main card. This was Eddie Wineland versus Scott Jorgensen. We had predicted Jorgensen to win a decision, seeing his wrestling, being able to get on top, being more active, pressing forward. I thought Jorgensen would come back well off of his loss. I knew that Wineland was coming on 2 straight losses, Benavidez and Faber. I just thought the wrestling acumen of Jorgensen would win this fight. That really didn't happen. Wineland and Jorgensen get into a kickboxing match. Wineland did have the reach advantage, does have the striking advantage. Both men got bloodied up and beaten up to the point where this was the fight of the night. If you didn't see it, try to find a replay of it. Wineland-Jorgensen, great fight. But the biggest moment of the fight comes in the second round as Wineland's starting to find his range. He doubles up on the left jab, comes on top of that with a right cross, and Scott Jorgensen is out. Good night. A TKO knockout. Second round, Eddie Wineland. This propels him up there, and I'd speculate, a matchup with a Brad Pickett or a Michael McDonald could be on the way. That was a very impressive win for Wineland. For Jorgensen, this knocks him a little bit down the pack again. He's now lost to Barao and to Wineland, so we'll have to see what awaits Jorgensen next out. Next fight, though, up. We have Mike Pyle versus Josh Neer. I thought this was a pick'em fight, 2 ready veterans, and I just loved this fight. We had picked Pyle. Thought Mike Pyle would win this fight, had more ways to win. I thought he could win in the decision or the submission. Really thought Neer would only win it with the TKO. This will prove me, though, as really Pyle does get the takedown early in the fight. He was controlling and dominant, but then they got back to the feet. Josh Neer started being up in your face, landing shots, beating up and pressuring Pyle, and then out of nowhere Pyle throws a 1-2. Said himself he just felt he was tired of taking punishment, landed it beautifully, dropping Josh Neer with he missed with the left jab, came over it with the right cross, hits with that cross right on the chin, dropping Josh Neer and earning Mike Pyle a knockout of the night award. And also a little bit, when you watch Men in Black 3 coming out this summer, Mike Pyle has a small cameo in that movie. Beautiful knockout of the night award for Mike Pyle. Now we go up to what was the co-main event of the night, Erick Silva versus Charlie Brenneman. I wanted to go with Silva. I said it on the little podcast video we do here. I wanted to go with Silva in a first-round TKO, but I just thought Brenneman was tough. He'd be able to use his wrestling and stifle it. I should have went with Silva. Silva, dominant with his defensive wrestling, staying low, hitting with strikes, pushing down Brenneman, using that head control, beating up Brenneman, got to the back, sinks in a rear naked choke, flattening out Charlie Brenneman, Erick Silva, the hype, the welterweight division, and the stars, and the way that division is just growing, it's crazy to see, and Silva looks so great in doing it. And now we're up to the main event. Ian McCall, Demetrious Johnson, the rematch from Australia, flyweight tournament. Winner gets Joseph Benavidez. We had picked McCall by split decision. Seeing that, I thought his wrestling would win out again. He was in control towards the end of that last fight with Johnson, and thought he would win this fight. Mighty Mouse Johnson came out stepping on the gas, more accurate, running around a lot more, using that elusiveness, picking apart McCall, even getting some takedowns of himself. When McCall did get takedowns, they didn't score in my book because he really was never able to do damage or get top control. Mighty Mouse walks out of the fight looking clean. McCall's been hit a couple times. McCall said he was disgusted with his own performance. Demetrious Johnson gets a unanimous decision victory, 29-28. First and third round were really Johnson. McCall controlled the second round. Demetrious Johnson, Joseph Benavidez. Hopefully by September is what we're hearing. We will have the first UFC flyweight champion. Caged Minds for our picks. We went 7-5. Missed a few obvious things in my own perspective. Sorry about that if people bet off of my little predictions. This has been Caged Minds. Uncage the world within yourself. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.